Hello, this is a lecture on acid-base disorders. Although the topic of acid-base physiology is quite complex, I would be limiting this discussion to the relevant information necessary at the bedside for management and diagnosis. Physiologic pH is necessary to prevent enzyme inactivation and denaturing. It is maintained between 7.35 to 7.45. The basic principle of acid-base physiology is that net acid production is equal to net acid elimination. This process can be broken down into three separate stages. Number one is production of acid. This is a consequence of normal metabolism. Carbohydrates, when broken down, produce carbon dioxide. Once the body has produced acid as a part of metabolic process physiologically or pathologic process, it needs to be transported to the kidneys and lungs for their excretion. Acids could simply be transported as hydrogen ions, but this will be incompatible to life because there is dramatic increase in pH. So therefore use of buffers is necessary. One important buffer, by far the most important buffer in our body, is carbonic acid bicarbonate buffer. This brings me to introduce you to Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. This will evoke the memories of class 12th chemistry, but this is important in acid-base disorders. The pH of a solution is pKa plus log salt upon the conjugate acid. When this equation is applied to the normal acid-base balance of human, the most common buffer used was bicarbonate carbonic acid buffer. The values, when we put in this equation, the pH will be equal to 6.1 plus log bicarbonate upon 0.03 into partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Now we have all these three values easily available with us. The bicarbonate is taken as 24 and partial pressure of carbon dioxide, this comes out to be 7.4, which is exactly our physiologic pH. So this equation links three easily measurable values: the pH, the bicarbonate concentration, which is measured by ABG, and partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Any change in the value of bicarbonate or partial pressure of carbon dioxide in arterial blood will lead to the change in pH of arterial blood. So our body will change the values of carbon dioxide and bicarbonate ion. It will increase the carbon dioxide when bicarbonate is increased. So the ratio remains same and pH is maintained at a constant value of 7.35 to 7.45. When carbon dioxide is reduced, it will reduce the bicarbonate. Similarly, vice versa. Now we need to understand that there are two types of disorders, metabolic and respiratory. Metabolic disorders will affect bicarbonate ion. When bicarbonate is increased in the body, it will lead to metabolic alkalosis. When bicarbonate is decreased in the body, it will lead to metabolic acidosis. Similarly, partial pressure of carbon dioxide, if increased, will lead to respiratory acidosis, and when it decreases, it will lead to respiratory alkalosis. About the regulation via lungs and kidneys. In the lungs, if a primary problem is decrease of bicarbonate. So decrease of bicarbonate means acidosis. If there is, this will be metabolic. Metabolic acidosis. Whenever bicarbonate increases, so it will be metabolic alkalosis. Similarly, when arterial CO2 is increased, it is respiratory acidosis, and when it decreases, it is respiratory alkalosis. So if bicarbonate is decreased, there will be compensation, and compensation occurs with the help of lungs. Metabolic problem is in kidney, so the compensation will occur by the lungs. There are some rules for compensation. That compensation is never complete. Compensation can take pH towards the normal, but it never reaches within the normal range. So when bicarbonate is decreased, the lung will act by activating the carotid body chemoreceptors, and medullary chemoreceptors are also activated. So respiratory center is activated, which leads to increase in minute ventilation, which leads to the washout of carbon dioxide. Then we come to the respiratory acidosis. In this, the kidneys will help. So kidneys will retain bicarbonate, which will occur at proximal convoluted tubule, and in the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct, hydrogen excretion will be enhanced. Next, our aim is to understand the compensation in primary metabolic disorders. So, in a metabolic disorder, compensation will always occur by respiration. And when lung is compensating, whether acute or chronic compensation, it is sensed by the brainstem, as told in the previous slide, medullary compensation, and leading to increased minute ventilation. So this will occur in a short span of time. So there is just one compensation formula. So this is step 1 is pH. pH is 7.27, which means less than 7.35. That is, there is acidemia. So next we look that this acidosis is due to bicarbonate or due to carbon dioxide. We see that carbon dioxide is less, that will not cause acidemia. So the primary disorder here is because of bicarbonate, which is decreased. So there is metabolic acidemia. So now the bicarbonate has decreased. In compensation, body will wash out carbon dioxide. So we need to know that this washout of carbon dioxide is due to compensatory mechanism, or there is another disorder. So we will apply the compensation formula, which is Winter's formula, which gives PCO2 is 1.5 into bicarbonate plus 8. This will come out to be 24.5, which is near to the given value, which means this is a primary metabolic disorder. Compensation is adequate. Then we'll talk about alkalemia, example for alkalemia. In this, pH is 7.5. So we see the reason of alkalemia here is bicarbonate, because it is 34, which is more than the normal limit. So we'll see if the compensation is adequate or there is another disorder associated. So for metabolic alkalemia, the formula we have for compensation is PCO2 equal to 40 plus 0.7 bicarbonate minus 24. This comes out to be 47. Plus minus 3 is taken as a limit, so adequate compensation. Then we'll talk about the compensation for respiratory disorders. In respiratory disorders, the compensation depends. Like in acute compensation will be lesser, and chronic compensation will be more. This is because the kidney is a slow compensator. CO2, this means acidemia, and this is also acidemia. So this is respiratory acidemia. Then in order to balance this, bicarbonate has also increased. But we observe that CO2 is 40 is taken as the normal, so it has increased by 25. So the 6.5 bicarbonate should have been increasing. So this has increased. So this is respiratory acidosis on the background of second disorder, that is metabolic alkalosis, because this is not within the compensation formula. It is increasing beyond that. Like for 10 rays in PCO2, the compensation would have been 1 increase in bicarbonate. But here it has increased by 25, so it should have increased by 2.5, and normal bicarbonate is 24. 2.5 is 26.5 bicarbonate, and this is increased. So there is some other disorder which is causing HCO3 minus to increase in the body, which is a metabolic alkalotic disorder. Now we need to know about what anion gap is. Anion gap is a measure of sodium minus the bicarbonate and chloride, which gives us the unmeasured anions. Unmeasured cations are very less. So always a balance is maintained in the body between positive and negative anions. Then we will talk about normal anion gap metabolic acidosis and elevated gap metabolic acidosis. This is explained by this figure, that normally the anions and cations, if this is anion and this is cations, they are equal. In case there is extra acid which is entered our body, then pathologic acid like lactic acid, so this will contribute to the anion burden, and there will be a burden on the anions. So bicarbonate is removed from burden of anions. So bicarbonate will buffer the acid. See here, normally bicarbonate is 24. Now bicarbonate has decreased. So this decrease in bicarbonate is because it is compensating for the hydrogen ion which is entered extra. So 24 to 12 there is decrease. Similarly here we can see there is decrease of 12. So the anion gap is increased in case of lactic acid. But in other conditions where there is normal gap, the chlorine is increased. This chlorine is maybe increased because of disorders which are in the kidney or in GI. Like in diarrhea, we see that we lose bicarbonate and chlorine is retained. So they will become hyperchloremic metabolic acidosis. So this chloride ion will buffer the hydrogen ion. Similarly, in type 4 RTA, which is due to decrease in aldosterone action or secretion, which is explained by this diagram, that type 4 RTA occurs here. So there will be acidosis because sodium cannot be reabsorbed, and potassium and hydrogen cannot be excreted out. So there is acidosis, and also chlorine is reabsorbed here. Chlorine is taken as a surrogate marker of hydrogen excretion. in renal tubular acidosis, H plus is being retained. So H plus, when H plus is retained here, so even chloride will get retained, causing hyperchloremia and normal anion gap. So we need to know the causes, we need to learn the causes. So normal gap is when chlorine is increasing, which occurs in type 4 RTA diarrhea, and elevated gap metabolic acid occurs in the presence of pathological acids. These pathological acids may be endogenous or may be exogenous. So endogenous acids are due to uremia, phosphate and sulfate is increased, or in DKA, ketone bodies, and lactic acidosis where, in hypoxemia when lactate is increased. Exogenous is due to poisoning by either alcohols like methanol, propylene glycol, ethylene glycol, or due to some drugs like isoniazid and salicylate. This is remembered as a mnemonic, mud piles. Now, maintaining the neutrality during an elevated anion gap. This is elevated anion gap when a pathologic acid has entered our body, like lactic acid. So lactate is contributing to the anion gap, which is balanced by bicarbonate, which buffers the acid. So we see the burden of negative charge is removed by bicarbonate, which buffers the H plus ion and becomes H2CO3, and then CO2 will be removed from the respiration. So according to this, in high anion gap acidosis, there should be 1:1 ratio between the increase in anion gap due to the entry of extra anion, that is lactate, and decrease in bicarbonate, which is going out to buffer. So this ratio is known as delta ratio, increase in anion gap to decrease in bicarbonate. This is one assuming that bicarbonate buffer is being used. But we have seen conditions in which chloride is retained. So chloride is acting as a buffer for hydrogen, where in those conditions the anion gap is normal. So now we take up a clinical problem. So there was a type 1 diabetic patient. He came to the emergency, complains of fever, vomiting, nausea, abdominal pain since one day. This is looking like a case scenario of diabetic ketoacidosis, and we have learned that in diabetic ketoacidosis delta ratio is 1. There is high anion gap acidosis. Till now we have learned this. So we see the pH, it is decreased. As expected, there was metabolic acidosis. So we see bicarbonate, this is decreased. Now, the first step is to see pH, acidemia, then categorize whether it is metabolic or respiratory. So we know this is metabolic acidosis. Now step 3 is to see compensation. So PaCO2 compensation we see by Winter's formula, which is 1.5 into bicarbonate plus 8. There is one more method to see the compensation in case of metabolic problems, like when the pH is 7.27, so the CO2 will also be 27. like point के बाद जो भी 2 letters हैं, 2 numerals हैं, उतने उसके अराउंड ही होगा PaCO2. So it is around 27, and when we calculate by using Winter's formula, it comes out to be 26 plus minus 2. So we get that compensation is appropriate. Now we calculate the anion gap. Anion gap is sodium minus chlorine plus bicarbonate. which is calculated as 30. Normal anion gap is 12. So measured anion gap of 30 is 18 more than the normal. And measured bicarbonate is 12 less than the normal. It should be 24. So when we take out delta ratio, it is delta anion gap upon delta bicarbonate, which comes out to be 1.5. But since we know this should have been around 1 because it is balanced by bicarbonate. But so there is another disorder, that there is metabolic alkalosis. Now we come back to the history. There was vomiting. This vomiting is causing the delta ratio to increase. Clinical vignette suggests diabetic ketoacidosis. It should fall between 1.8 to 1.2, 0.8 to 1.2. Thus, patient's delta ratio is higher than expected, which would be consistent with concurrent metabolic alkalosis. So there is elevated metabolic acidosis because of diabetic ketoacidosis, and metabolic alkalosis is from vomiting of HCl. Thank you.